And if you ever wondered why that Jenner dies so quickly in combat or why it always gets destroyed, that is the reason. Are you always losing your weapon arms or your side torsos? Are you wondering why your mech just doesn't feel tanky enough as it should be? And are you just wondering how to properly allocate armor in Mechwarrior 5 mercs? Well, greetings Mechwarriors, hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is TTB, good to see you today. And in this video I want to talk about armor on mechs, and I want to look specifically at the first starting mechs that you are going to encounter in your campaign in Mechwarrior 5 Mercenaries. Let's get started. First, we will look at the Javelin. The Javelin F is the first mech you will be piloting outside of the tutorial, and this mech comes equipped with 4 medium lasers. And if you're a novice player, you will just look at this screen right here, you might tinker a little bit with the weapons, and that will be it. But here's the thing guys, forget this screen exists, always look for the details screen. Very important. A lot of the fun of any Mechwarrior or BattleTech game is to tinker with your builds, so always look at the details screen, tip number 1. And now we see, okay, we can see that all the parts of the mech, torsos, head, arms, CT, center torso, legs, all of them are missing a little bit of armor. And the problem is we are at full tonnage right now, 30 out of 30, so I'm going to remove 2 jump jets. Press the right click button. Now we're under tonnage. That icon down here says that we are not at maximum tonnage for our mech, 29 out of 30. And now I'm going to click max armor and watch what happens. Boom. We're almost up to maximum tonnage again. We've lost a little bit of jump height in our jump jets, which I would argue we don't need. And we have gained 30 armor in total. That is an increase at this point of over 10%. Okay, so that is a nice win. That is a really nice win. However, as you can see, we are just gaining about 1 armor up front here on the side torso, for example, and 1 armor in the back. 18 front and 8 in the back, to 19 front and 9 in the back. That is not a huge deal. So remember the number 18 front. So I'm looking at these armor values and I'm thinking, the back armor is just too high. A lot of people like to run the back armor at about 1/3 of what their front armor is, or the total allocation should be 2/3 up front and 1/3 in the back. That's what a lot of people say. I disagree. In my opinion and in my experience, the most fighting you'll be doing is face to face. You will shoot targets in the face and they will shoot at you. So they're shooting your front, not necessarily your back. If they're shooting your back, that means they're either ambushing you or you are a little bit mispositioned. Maybe you charged into the enemy line and you got them around you. Long story short, you made mistakes. So what I would recommend to you guys, and that's one of the reasons why my mechs normally don't feel like paper mache, is because I have extra armor from the back up on the front. So how much would I recommend you allocate up to the front? Well, in my opinion, 4 to 5 back armor is the sweet spot for Mechwarrior 5 Mercenaries here. So if we go to 4 back armor and put all this stuff up front, if you press the shift button it will increase in increments of 5. All of a sudden now we've got 24 armor up front as opposed to the 18 we had before. That's a nice increase up front, and that will allow you to, for example, now survive an AC-20 hit without the shot going internal, because you will still have 4 armor left on that part. So let's do this for all the relevant parts that actually have a rear armor, which is right torso, left torso, and of course your center torso. All the other parts of your mech are just have 1 armor value, so there's no front or back difference. All of a sudden we have a center torso front armor of 36. That means we can now survive an AC-20 and an AC-10 and an AC-5 shot, and we still have 1 armor front and don't lose any components or don't run the risk of any components being crit out. Okay, so far so good. So how will we further improve this build? Well, I think it's nice to have the armor on the arms because it allows you to torso twist against your enemies, take a few shots on the arms. There is nothing in there that is of any value, so the repairs will be cheap, and you are going to protect your center torso, side torso weapons. So, looking at the jump height, I feel that we can actually remove 2 more jump jets and use the tonnage that we gain from that to add another single heatsink if we have it available, just improving our cooling a little bit more and therefore being able to shoot more. And maybe, this is just a maybe, you might want to move the single heatsink from the head then over to the left torso, because that will help to crit pad this side of the torso, so once the armor is breached, there's a chance that attacks will destroy a component, and if it follows standard BattleTech rules, there should be an internal roll going on, and if you have some single heatsinks in there, there's a chance it will destroy the heatsink instead of a laser. So because if it has the chance to roll between two lasers, one of the lasers might get crit. If you have the heatsinks in there, well, there's a chance the heatsinks will get crit out over the laser, and by crit out I mean damaged. Of course, they can also be destroyed if the whole torso part gets blown off. So, this is my suggested build if you have it for the Javelin. If you don't have this extra single heatsink, just leave 2 more jump jets in there. Okie dokie. Then, the next mech you will be playing is going to be the Centurion 9A. And this thing is a very well-rounded medium mech. Now, what do we do? First of all, go to the details screen, and once again we see, if we're looking at the armor, the torso armor on the Centurion in its unaltered state is not that much higher of our now improved light mech, and this thing is 20 tons heavier. So, what can we do here? Well, if I look at this build, I see we have 2 tons of AC-10 ammo that gives us 80 shots, and we have got 2 tons of LRM ammo. Now the LRM capacity is 440 rounds per ton of ammo, and that means that we can shoot this LRM-10 44 times with 1 ton of ammo. So it looks like the build is balanced in a way that you can shoot both these weapons 80 times. I would argue that you will be shooting the LRM-10s a lot less than your AC-10s, so we can just sacrifice 1 ton of LRM ammo. Boom, and it's gone. Well, let's see what happens if we click max armor. We go up to max armor and we have 50 tons, but we haven't really maxed out our armor. So the question is, what else can we do? Well, we could remove a single heatsink. If we remove 1 single heatsink here, try max armor again. We increase even further. Now we are actually increasing the armor by a total of 64 points. And we're still not completely maxed, but we're getting there. This is the point where I will probably leave it as far as ammo and weapons are concerned. Now, how can we further improve this? Because this is a solid starter build. You've got the LRM-10 to engage targets from 900 meters onward. Just learn them especially. The helicopters, for example, are easily taken down with the LRM-10 or some lighter vehicles or some turrets. Once they get closer, at 450 meters and a little bit more, you can unleash the autocannon 10. And once they get to around 300 to 400 meters, you can start shooting them with the medium lasers. And below 180 meters, the LRM-10s are not going to work anymore because they are below minimum range, and you will just be using AC-10 and medium lasers. Now, before we do anything else, guys, let's adapt our armor. Look at this center torso armor, for example, on this medium mech. Remember the 36 we had on the light one? This mech right now has 44 center torso, but 20 back armor. So, what happens if we now go to our 4 armor value backside? Well, the 44 all of a sudden becomes 60. That means you can survive 3 straight AC-20 shots to the center torso and you still won't have any internal damage, and your medium lasers will still be fine. And that is the reason, guys, why some mechs or some pilots' mechs feel a lot more healthy and a lot more tanky than others. Just be aware that you need to work on your positioning, and in my opinion, in most cases it is not a problem. You will get shot a lot more in the front than you will get shot in the back. So, the AC-10 arm needs to be maximum armored, that's fine. The legs, well, we can remove a little bit of armor from the legs if we need to, or from the head, but for now it's actually fine. If you want to have the mech be very symmetrical, we've got 41 armor on each leg, and then the head with 30 armor to be perfectly protected there. And that would basically be a solid build. This is the build that you might run when you are here in the campaign. But what you could also do, once you get a little bit further on in the campaign and you have a few weapon options available, you could switch the LRM-10 launcher, because it's a medium missile slot, to an SRM launcher, therefore increasing your brawling capabilities. SRM-6 is a perfect fit here. We put that into the missile slot in here, and we also add 1 ton of SRM ammo. All of a sudden, we have a total of 2 tons left that we can work with. And of course these would be going into heatsinks. One more important thing, guys, I would recommend you put your ammo in the legs and not in the side torsos, because if those get blown off, or if those get crit out, if the ammo gets crit, it explodes, except for Gauss ammo that cannot explode as far as BattleTech rules are concerned. And you will lose the component or you will further damage your mech, so I recommend put the ammo in the legs. That is a very safe spot to have it. And you could, for example, lower the head armor down to maybe 22, that's a cozy number, and armor up your legs a little bit more to 45 each, and you should be fine. And as I said, now we have the capability to add another heatsink here and another heatsink. You could also add the heatsink actually to the AC-10 arm if you wanted. And there you go. All of a sudden the mech is cooler, has more firepower, especially up close, doesn't have minimum range anymore, but we're sacrificing maximum range of course, but for that we have the AC-10 that's also perfectly capable to snipe down targets at longer ranges. Once again, balanced build, balanced around brawling this time, not around all ranges but brawling. Very enjoyable to play, go ahead and give that a try. Okay, and then last but not least, let's have a quick look at the Jenner, because that is also a death trap for your new pilots. Once you acquire your first pilot, you will also acquire this Jenner 7D with it. And it looks really good on paper, 4 medium lasers and an SRM4, it's quite powerful for a 35 tonner. But then you look at the build itself and you will realize, wait a second, how come there's so little armor on this thing? This mech, in its standard build, is a death trap, guys. It is definitely a death trap because you don't have much armor or anything. Your arms are protected by 8 armor. That is a medium laser and a small laser hitting and the armor is gone. So what do we do with this? Well, for example, I would say 1 jump jet here actually might be enough on this Jenner. And you free up 2 tons. Now once again we press max armor and we see, even by freeing up 2 tons, we're still not there yet. So we could remove another jump jet, or we could remove the SRM4 launcher. Let's see what happens if we remove the jump jet. We can armor up even further, but we're not complete yet. So let's say we remove the SRM4 launcher, we leave 1 jump jet in, we try max armor again, and there you have it, guys. We're almost at maximum tonnage. Let's forget about the SRM ammo that we have in the right torso for a second. I just want you to look over to this side, guys. We're losing a little bit of firepower. We're losing a lot of jump height that we don't need that much. And we're gaining almost double armor. Almost double the stock armor. And if you ever wondered why that Jenner dies so quickly in combat or why it always gets destroyed, that is the reason, because the stock armor is very low so that it can bring all these weapons to bear. That doesn't help you though, because that thing gets shot to hell in a couple of hits and that's going to be it. So, we're increasing the armor. Now, we're removing the SRM ammo because we don't have the SRM launcher in here anymore. We can move the heatsink to, I would say, the arm if you want to, but the torso is also a fine spot to put it. You can also add another heatsink here. Okay, so far so good. And now we can think about maybe lowering the armor on a few choice parts a little bit more. I would say on the cockpit, just take away up to 20 head armor, because then we can afford another jump jet. Done. Nice addendum, we don't have to pay much for it. And the head armor is not that critical because it's a light mech, it's not that prone to being shot in the cockpit. And now, well, now we have to properly attribute our armor, because 33 front armor I don't like. We are saving 4 back armor for our rear, and we're taking the rest up to the front. As you can see, all of a sudden we have 48 front armor, where before there was like a mid-30s number. So, we're doing the same thing on the side torsos, and we increase this even further to 34 on the side torsos, which is almost as much as the Javelin has on its center torso. And all of a sudden, guys, this mech that is a walking death trap becomes something that can actually take a few hits. It still needs to be careful not to take hits on the arms because they're quite flimsy, 14 armor on there plus 7 structures, so 21 total hit points. But it is going to be a lot more tanky than what you had before, while being able to dish out, I would say, more damage over time, because you've got more heatsink capability and you've also removed one of the heat sources here with the SRM4 launcher. So while the initial alpha strike will be a little bit lower, the sheer fact that you can just shoot more and live longer will mean that you will be more successful in the matches to come. Alright guys, I hope this was helpful to the more novice players around here. Maybe you got a few ideas of how to better improve your mechs. If that was helpful to you guys, do me a favor, drop me a thumbs up, let me know down in the comments below what you thought of this video, and also if there are other topics that you might be struggling with where I maybe should think about making a video as well. And if you guys really enjoy this content and you want to support the channel, want to support me making more content, then do check out my Patreon page and think about becoming a member of Team TTB. Thank you guys for watching. Have a great day. I'm out of here. Bye bye.